Since the end of the war in 1945, there have been many films about different World War II battles, scenarios, and World War II soldiers' stories. Today on World War II history, I'm going to be telling you guys about my top 5 favourite World War II films.
We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
Coming in at the 5th place spot, we have a film called Defiance. Many of you guys will not have heard of this film as it's not the most popular, but I can assure you that it is amazing. Defiance is the film based upon a true story about the Balitsky brothers and what they did for thousands of Jews during the Second World War. When the three brothers' parents are murdered by local police under Nazi force, they go and seek refuge in the Nailboki forest. Whilst in the forest, the three brothers encounter other Jews hiding from Nazi forces and decide to take them under their wing, to protect them, to feed them, and just help them survive. For around a year, they began to build a little village within the forest, housing hundreds of runaway Jews. They successfully lived in peace for around a year or two until the three brothers learned that the Nazi forces are about to heavily hit their little village with heavy artillery and infantry power. The brothers began evacuating all the Jews out of the forest to stop them being slaughtered by the Germans. The three brothers managed to get all the Jews out of the forest unharmed, but then they were met by German infantry and a Panzer Mark III. They were sure they were all dead, but the Nazis were hit by the rear by the partisan forces led by one of the brothers. This film highlights how the three brothers managed to save around 2,000 Jews' lives during the course of the Second World War, and without a doubt this film is a must-see and I would highly recommend it to anyone. The reason I placed this is because it shows the true harshness that Jews had to endure just in order to survive, and it also highlights the heroes who put their lives on the line to save the lives of others. Coming in at the 4th place spot, we have Fury. Fury is a film about a new soldier to the war and a tank crew he is assigned to. The tank crew and Fury had been together since the North Africa campaign from 1940 to 43. All of a sudden, the Allies were about to make their final push into Germany, but they got a new member, Private Norman Ellison, who wasn't trained to be a soldier, but a clerk typist.
Hey, you go to tank school?
Tank school?
No.
Never even seen the inside of a tank. I'm a clerk typist. I was heading to 5th Corps HQ. They pulled me off the truck. They sent me here.
Straight away, we see Norman and the rest of the tank crew go into action. Private Norman spots two Hitler Youth children soldiers firing a Panzerfaust into the leading tank, but he can't bring himself to shoot them as they're only kids. This results in a horrible death for the leading tank crew. Don, the tank commander, is extremely angered by Norman's incompetence and forces him to murder a Waffen-SS prisoner. This traumatizes Norman as it's his first kill of the war.
Do it, Norman. Do it, Norman.
The armed platoon is then ordered to go and capture and hold vital crossroads on the front line. As they were on their way, they were ambushed by a German Tiger tank. Norman's tank eventually destroys the Tiger tank, clearing the way.
Oh, motherfucking shoot him!
Steady!
Now! On one!
Alone, Norman's tank heads to the crossroads. While scouting a nearby house, Norman spots an approaching Waffen-SS battalion heading straight for the tank. Instead of fleeing, Don orders that they stay and fight. As nightfall came around, the 5 tank crew ambushed and assaulted the Waffen-SS battalion, killing many.
Right there, motherfuckers! There! Fire! On one!
However, ammunition was a severe problem, and eventually they ran out, resulting in the death of everyone but Norman. This film highlights the innocence of the soldiers fighting in the war. Norman was keen to join up and help, but as a clerk typist, not a killer. He was then forced into it, which this happened for many people, and it just shows the sheer innocence. If you haven't seen this film, you're definitely missing out, as it is extremely well made. Coming in at the 3rd place spot, we have the 2017 blockbuster film, Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan film is an amazing film, well made and displayed. This film highlights the mass evacuation of over 300,000 men from Dunkirk beach by small civilian vessels. During the fall of France to the Nazis, hundreds of thousands of Allied soldiers were trapped in a small area of Dunkirk with Nazi forces surrounding them in every direction. The film starts off with Tommy, a British private, running onto Dunkirk beach after being the sole survivor of a Nazi ambush. Here we see the first glimpse of the 400,000 men stranded on the beach. Tommy then meets Gibson, who is a French soldier but had stolen a dead British private's uniform. Shortly after, all the men were hit by German dive bomb attacks from Stukas. The film then cuts to 3 Spitfires heading towards Dunkirk beach in order to give the men air support. A call then goes out in Britain ordering all civilian vessels to go out to Dunkirk, and this is where we meet Mr. Dawson, his son and George.
Thanks for the help, George. What are you doing? You do know where we're going? France.
Into war, George!
While sailing, they find a sunken ship with a lone shell-shocked British private on top. They rescue him, only then to get in an argument as they weren't going back to Britain, they were going to Dunkirk. This results in George falling over, banging his head and dying. The film then cuts back to the Spitfire, shooting down Heinkel's and Messerschmitts, protecting the boats with the soldiers on it. Both Collins and the squadron leader were shot down, leaving Farrier to reach Dunkirk. As he glides along the coast of Dunkirk, he managed to shoot down a Stuka dive bomber, which would have done significant damage to all the British privates. This film is so good in my eyes as it shows the harsh reality of warfare. Young 21-year-old British privates were looking for adventure and were met by sheer horror and death at the hands of the enemy. Nolan's film is looked at by veterans as being one of the most realistic Dunkirk films since The Actual Thing, a definite watch. Coming in at the second place spot, we have Band of Brothers. Although this is directly not classified as a film and more of a 12-piece series, it can be looked at as one of the most realistic reenactments of warfare ever made. Band of Brothers focuses on the Easy Company section of the 2nd Battalion, 506 Parachute Infantry Regiment during World War II. The miniseries begins with the recruitment selection of the war. The paratroopers were unheard of and no one knew what it was going to be like. This made it even more special for those who trained for the next 3 years to go into combat. We will then see the Easy Company going over to Britain in preparation for the jumps on D-Day. These jumps would have been initially 2 to 3 hours before the actual landings at Normandy, meaning that they had a huge goal. Easy Company had the goal of capturing and holding the town of Quarantine, which was of high importance as it was the only main road connecting Omaha and Utah Beach together. Although the paratroopers were scattered horrendously, they managed to capture the town. It then goes on to show the paratroopers fighting the unsuccessful Operation Market Garden, the Siege of Bastogne, and during the Battle of the Bulge, and on to the war's end in 1945. This miniseries is all based on a true story and soldiers' accounts from the time. If you haven't watched this, I cannot emphasize enough to go and watch it. It's an absolutely amazing TV series with brilliant acting, directing, episodes and more. Finally, coming in at the first place spot, we have Saving Private Ryan. What sort of list would this be if this film wasn't on it? When you think war movies, this is one that pops into your mind. Saving Private Ryan begins in the early morning of June 6, 1944, in a landing craft in the English Channel. American soldiers are landing at Omaha Beach, led by Captain John Miller of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. He manages to make it to the seawall on the beach with a bunch of fellow soldiers and manages to breach the German defences, shooting down onto the soldiers of Omaha Beach.
Don't shoot! Let him burn!
The film then cuts to the War Office in Washington, where it is found that James Francis Ryan is the last alive of 4 sons, and that his mother is about to receive 3 telegrams telling her that her 3 sons are dead. General George Marshall then demands Private Ryan is found and sent home immediately to his mother. 3 days after D-Day, John Miller and 8 of his men are ordered to go and find Private Ryan, who is scattered somewhere across Normandy. This is where we meet Private Upham, a cartographer turned soldier. Then at Ramelle, Captain Miller and his men find a small group of paratroopers who are about to defend a bridge. One of the paratroopers is Private James Francis Ryan.
That was a recon element, 2nd SS. I've been expecting a probe. That must have been it.
Captain Miller. Charlie Company, 2nd Rangers.
Corporal Henderson, Easy Company, 501st.
Ryan, 1st of 506.
PFC telling me 3rd of 506.
James Francis, Ryan?
Yes, sir. How'd you guess that?
Miller tells him that he's got a ticket home, but he refuses and wants to stay and fight with the only brothers he has left.
Will they send her another folded American flag?
Tell her that when you found me, I was here, and I was with the only brothers that I have left.
Miller cannot persuade him, which results in the 2 forces joining and defending the bridge together. They make a short battle plan and wait. They are then attacked by the 2nd SS Panzer Division, along with infantry. Although these men inflicted heavy casualty upon the Germans, they were too strong, which results in the death of around 8 men along with Miller, leaving only Reiben and Ryan alive. An American P-51 then swoops overhead and saves the man. The reason why I love this film so much is because of the story it tells. It shows the brotherly connections during war, protecting each other day in, day out. Almost every time I watch this film, it ends up in me shedding a tear or two. It does emotionally hit me. This film was so realistic to D-Day veterans during watching it that they had to step out during the opening scene. If you have not seen this film, then please do. It's amazing in every way and deserves a watch.
James. Earn this. Earn it.
Well guys, that concludes my list of my top 5 favourite World War II films. If you want something similar to this, maybe other films, then smash a like button and tell me what you think of this video. Anyway guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching and goodbye.